Welcome, learners. JustProfessor here. You know you should save money, but you bought those shoes anyway. You know you should invest, but that new phone was right there. You keep choosing right now over your future, and then you wonder why you're always stressed about money. Your brain is wired to screw over future you, and future you is paying the price. This isn't just about being bad with money. This is about how your brain values time, and it's completely broken. Your brain thinks $1 today is worth way more than $1 next year, even though logically they're the same. It thinks the pleasure you get right now is worth more than the security you could have later. This is called time preference bias, and it's the reason most people never build wealth, never reach their goals, and spend their entire lives living paycheck to paycheck while knowing exactly what they should be doing differently. So, what is time preference bias? It's when you prefer immediate rewards over bigger rewards that come later. Your brain is hardwired to want things now, not tomorrow, not next month. Now. Even if waiting would give you something way better, your brain doesn't care. It sees the immediate option and screams, "Take it, take it, take it," and logic goes out the window. Here's a classic example. Researchers offer people a choice. You can have $100 today or $110 in a week. Most people take the $100 today. But that makes no sense. Waiting 1 week for $10 extra is a 10% return in 7 days. That's an insane return on investment. You'd never get that from a bank. But your brain doesn't see it that way. It sees money now versus money later, and now always wins. This is destroying your financial future. Every time you choose to spend instead of save, you're choosing present you over future you. Every time you buy something you don't need instead of investing, you're stealing from your future self. And future you is going to wake up one day, broke and stressed, wondering why present you was so selfish. Let me break down how bad this really is. Let's say you spend $5 on coffee every day. That's $35 a week. About $150 a month, $1,800 a year. Now, you might think, it's just $5, it's not a big deal. But here's what you're not seeing. If you took that $1,800 a year and invested it with a 7% annual return, in 30 years you'd have over $170,000. You traded $170,000 for coffee. That's what time preference bias costs you. But your brain can't see that. Your brain can't picture yourself in 30 years. It can barely picture you next month. So when you're standing in line at the coffee shop, all your brain sees is, "I want coffee now," versus some vague, abstract idea of money in the distant future. And now wins. Every single time. This doesn't just apply to coffee, it's everything. That subscription you don't use but keep paying for. That car you bought that was way more expensive than you needed. That vacation you put on a credit card. Every single one of those decisions is time preference bias in action. You chose the short-term pleasure over long-term stability, and now you're stuck dealing with the consequences. Here's what makes this even worse. Time preference bias doesn't just affect spending. It affects earning, too. You know you should be building skills that will increase your income in the future. You know you should be working on that side project. You know you should be networking or learning something valuable. But all of that requires effort now for rewards later, and your brain hates that. So instead, you scroll social media, watch TV, play games. You choose easy now over better later. The same thing happens with health. You know you should exercise. You know you should eat better. But exercise is hard right now, and the benefits are in the future. Fast food tastes good right now, and the consequences are in the future. So you choose present pleasure over future health, and then you end up sick, tired, and regretful. Time preference bias is also why debt is so dangerous. Credit cards and loans let you have things now and pay later. That's like rocket fuel for time preference bias. Your brain gets the reward immediately, and the pain of paying is pushed into the future. So you buy things you can't afford, rack up debt, and then future you is stuck with payments, interest, and stress. You literally borrowed happiness from your future self, and now future you is miserable. Here's another way this shows up. Retirement. You know you should be saving for retirement. Everyone tells you to start early because compound interest is powerful. But retirement is decades away. Your brain can't connect with that. It feels fake, like it's never going to happen. So you don't save. You tell yourself you'll start later. But later never comes because your brain always prefers now. And then you wake up at 60 with no savings, no plan, and no way to retire. This isn't just a personal problem. Time preference bias affects entire societies. Politicians make short-term decisions to get re-elected instead of long-term decisions that would actually help the country. Companies focus on quarterly profits instead of building sustainable businesses. Everyone's optimizing for right now, and the future is falling apart because nobody wants to make sacrifices today for benefits tomorrow. So why is your brain like this? Why does it value now so much more than later? Because for most of human history, later didn't matter. You lived in a world where you could die tomorrow, where food was scarce, where you had to take what you could get when you could get it. Your brain evolved in an environment where immediate rewards were the only rewards that mattered. Planning for the future was pointless when you might not have a future. But that's not the world you live in anymore. You're probably not going to die tomorrow. You're probably going to live for decades. The future is real, and it's coming whether you prepare for it or not. But your brain is still running on ancient software that prioritizes right now, and it's screwing you over. Here's the really frustrating part. You know this is happening. You're aware that you should be thinking long-term. You've read articles about saving and investing. You've made budgets. You've set goals. But knowing doesn't change your brain's wiring. When the moment comes, when you're faced with a choice between now and later, your brain still picks now, every time. So how do you fight time preference bias? How do you stop choosing present over future? First, you need to make future you real. Your brain doesn't care about some abstract version of you that exists in 10 years. But if you can visualize that person, connect with them emotionally, your brain will start considering their needs. Write a letter to future you. Imagine what their life will be like if you keep making bad choices. Make them a real person in your mind, not just a concept. Second, automate good decisions. Don't rely on willpower to save money or invest. Set up automatic transfers. Make it so the money goes into savings before you even see it, because if you have to manually choose to save every time, time preference bias will win. But if the decision is already made for you, your brain doesn't get a chance to screw it up. Third, delay gratification intentionally. Practice waiting. When you want something, force yourself to wait 24 hours before buying it. This gives your brain time to calm down and think rationally. A lot of times you'll realize you don't even want it anymore. The immediate urge fades and you save money. Fourth, calculate the real cost. When you're about to buy something, don't just think about the price. Think about what else you could do with that money. Think about what it would be worth if you invested it. Make the future cost visible so your brain can't ignore it. And finally, create consequences for present you. If future you is going to suffer from bad decisions, find a way to make present you suffer a little bit too. Maybe it's accountability with a friend. Maybe it's a punishment system. But if your brain only experiences the reward and never the pain, it'll keep choosing short-term over long-term. Look, time preference bias is one of the hardest biases to overcome because it's baked into your brain at a fundamental level. Your brain is designed to want things now. That's not going to change, but you can work around it. You can set up systems that force you to make better choices. You can train yourself to think differently about time. The truth is, most financial problems aren't about not having enough money. They're about choosing present over future. You have money. You're just spending it on right now instead of saving it for later. And every time you do that, you're trading long-term security for short-term pleasure. And that trade almost never works out in your favor. Future you is counting on present you to make good decisions, to save, to invest, to sacrifice a little bit now so that later is better. But present you keeps letting them down. Because present you wants coffee, wants new clothes, wants fun right now. And future you is the one who pays for it. So next time you're about to spend money on something you don't need, think about future you. Picture them struggling, stressed, broke, wishing present you had made a different choice. Because that's where this road leads. Time preference bias doesn't just cost you money. It costs you freedom, security, and peace of mind. If you're tired of choosing now over later and regretting it, subscribe.